Hello, this is a tutorial on a tool, an app, that allows you to create interactive lessons and assessments that students can participate in your class on all kinds of devices. It'll work on a Mac, it'll work on a PC, it'll work on tablets, and it'll work on the smartphones. It's called Nearpod, and you can get to it at nearpod.com. Now, if the students have those other devices, there's actually apps that they can download at either the Android store or the Apple store in order to get access to an app that will directly launch. The students do not need to create an account. The teachers need to create an account, so you would click Teacher Sign Up in order to do so. Once you've done that, then everything that you prepare, any lesson that you create, will be at your account. So we're going to go ahead and log in. So I do have to mention, Pear Deck is a free web-based platform for creating presentations, interactive lessons, and also some built-in assessment. Now there are some upgrades that you can do to get access to some additional tools and additional content, but that is a paid-for service at that point. So I'm just going to show you the free version. So here I've launched Nearpod, and I'm getting into my library, which allows me, let's go back actually a step up here to home and show you when you first get in, it would look like this with this question, what would you like to do? So my library is all of the presentations that you've created. Explore allows you to see presentations that have been created by other instructors in Nearpod and are available for you to see, to look at for ideas, or actually you also have the ability to use some of those. That's why they've been placed out here. Join allows you to actually kind of go to the store and you can actually make some purchases of various things. Again, that's the fee piece. Create is where we're going to go to actually build something, and then reports allows you to get the feedback reports for the assessments that students did on your presentations. So I'm going to go back to my library again and we'll show you that particular screen. So we have, this is the default one if you just want to walk through and see how one is working. This is one created by Nearpod itself. It's called Getting Started, and this would allow you to kind of walk through. Here's one I created here, and I'm going to actually walk through what this looks like and just show you some of the things that you can put inside one of these Nearpod presentations. And then here's where we're going to go to create a new one. So here's this presentation. I can actually delete it if I no longer need it. I can preview it. I can go in and edit it if I feel like I need some changes. I can assign it for homework, and what happens is there will be an access code that I'll show you in a second, and then we could run it as a live session. So the idea would be you would already have this presentation created, and then you would go to your Nearpod account and then launch this one. So my presentation is for a Finance 101 class, and we're going to take a look at the time value of money. So I'm going to launch my live session. Okay, so what happens is this gives you a descriptor here. I'm going to get this out of the way, but we have to share this pin, this 5-character code with our students. And so there's a number of different ways that we can actually work on doing this, but basically all you'd need to do each time you launch one, it's going to have this code. So you would just have to give this to your students. So if you're in class live and you're going to launch this presentation, you just give this information to the students. They would go to nearpod.com, or if they're using a mobile device, they would click on that app or tap on that app, and then they would say, I am a student. And then it'll say on their device, join a session, and they would enter their PIN. So I'm now doing that on my iPad. Okay, and so it's asking me on my iPad to pop in a name. All right, so up here where it shows some silhouettes of people, we can see we have one student in the class right now. And in case you had other students that maybe somebody showed up late that day, here's your pin. You can always give that back to them. And then once they log in with that pin, they're ready to go. So now it kind of works like any other presentation tool. You got the left arrow and right arrow to advance or go back. And you'll see that we have all kinds of different boxes in here that we've added. I've tried to do a number of different things just so you can see what it's capable of doing. And so at this point, we're going to advance the slide. So I'm going to click to the right. And so what's happening is what you see on my screen. I'm going to pause this because this happens to be a video, just to show that there was a video that was put into this particular place. And again, I'll show you how to do all this in a minute. So I've kind of just paused the sound and the playback on that. But this particular video is actually on my iPad right now. So as a student, I get the ability to watch this. So assuming that we're done with this particular part of the lesson, I'm going to advance. I've now created a quiz here. On the iPad, it says ready to take the quiz, go. And so this particular question that is showing up on the device itself, you can't quite see what this is yet because you're in the instructor mode on the screen. But basically it says, what table would you use if you wanted to determine how much $5,000 would grow to in 10 years with a 5% rate of return? And you have present value of a lump sum, present value of annuity, future value of a lump sum, and future value of an annuity. So I, as the student, I'm going to respond to this just by clicking the radio button to the left, and I'm going to hit send. And then the score is going to come in. Now you see we have colors here, green for correct, red for incorrect, and if no answer was given, that would still show up in yellow. So we have this little kind of pie chart here where you can see that in this case we've only had one student. So that student picked that particular question. And out of the 3 possible questions, so far got that one right. So the next question has been opened. True or false, there are 4 C's of credit. Well, I know that's true, but I'm going to just mark false just so you can see what it looks like to be different. And now we see that I've chosen the second answer in a true and false. A was true, B was false, and notice here how it's marked in red. And then we still have, the third question here was not answered. What type of money is this? So there's an image that we have on the screen here. So you've seen I've shown a multiple choice, a true and false. I now have an image on the screen. And it's a kind of a wad of $100 bills. And it says, what type of money is this? And my possible answers are coins, bullion, checks, or currency. So it's currency, and I will hit send. And so we have the student's name. And again, if you're seeing this on your machine, the students are not seeing this on their machine at all. So this is just to you. So you can have students here. You can give every student a number. If you don't want to know what the students are by name, you have that option. And here we have an ability to determine how folks did on this formative assessment piece that is placed at somewhere in your presentation. You can place as many of these in as you want. So just to show something else, so here's a kind of a short answer here. It says, explain your understanding of risk tolerance. And then the person would do some typing in here. And so I'm typing in some of the stuff to take a loss. Okay, so I just typed in a and I'm going to send that. Okay, so the person has an answer, and you can see exactly what their answer is in a short answer situation. I do have the ability to share this information out if I wanted all kinds of students in the class to see what this is. And then here's another question, how comfortable are you with this material? So this is the ability to come up with a poll situation. So I could create a poll like some of those other tools, Poll Daddy, Poll Everywhere, that type of a thing. I have the ability to create a poll and kind of take the temperature of the room, so to speak, and figure out where everybody is. So there's you know, I'm struggling, I'm pretty comfortable. How, you know, how great, how comfortable are you with this material? I'm starting to understand. Very could teach someone, so some of this is truncated a little bit in this format. If I was in more of a landscape version, you'd see all this here. But just to give you an idea, it's actually very visible on the student's screen. So this particular person has responded. And there we show up that this particular student is pretty comfortable. So again, if you had a whole list of students, you would be able to see kind of how they're doing and determine whether or not we need to pause and do some reflection. Do we need to maybe give them another example, give them a little bit more work to do, or whether or not we're doing well and we can move on as a group. And so this is an actual PowerPoint presentation just to show you that you can take something that you've already done and put it right in here. This is an 11-slide PowerPoint presentation. And again, to advance through the slides, I just roll here. Students have the ability to advance to the slides as well. So if I click on number 4, for example, I'm going to get this slide on my machine. So if you want to have students work along with you, you have the ability to do that. And then thanks for playing. We're finished, so we're good to go. I also have the ability to do reports. So I could actually get either a printout, an Excel spreadsheet, a comma-separated value file for the results if that's something that I need. Would you like to end the session? This will remove your students from the presentation. And yep, that's fine. So we now have some information on the student's machine that the session has expired. The pin is no longer valid. So again, if you were going to launch this thing again, there would be a new pin that would be created. So you do have the ability to kind of create, you can actually copy this entire session and create another one in case you're teaching more than one class of that same material. So let's show you how to build it. It's relatively simple. Click on New Presentation. And so I have the ability to do a number of different things. I can add PDFs, I can add videos, I can add audios, all kinds of different things. So I'm going to add a slide to kind of get us started here. And the different types of slides that I have, there's content and activity. So if you're talking about the quizzing, the polling, formative assessment stuff, and things that you want them to do, that's over here. Everything else is content. They have a free trial for adding web content. What this would be is you can add a live website that would launch for your students on their devices once you got there. Unfortunately, it's only a trial. You do have to pay. This is considered more of the pro version, so you do have to pay in order to get that. So let's add some content. So you just click on that. So I have the ability to add different types of slides to start it off with. And as you see here, it can be a PDF, a PowerPoint, zip file, etc. I can add a video. I can add an audio file. I can add a slideshow, so that's where you would add either a PowerPoint, or if you're on a Mac, you would add a keynote presentation. And then I haven't really played with this one so much, but there's a beta tool in here for field trips, so that might be worth taking a look at if that's something that you need to deal with. So adding the content, we're going to grab a slide here, and this is just kind of a title slide. So let's get started. And I can put some more material in here. You don't have a lot of editing capabilities and all that kind of stuff. You're essentially adding text. You can also add an image, audio. You can clear all and start over. Once you're done with the slide, you hit save, and it tells you that you've got this slide added. And so now I can add another slide. So I'm going to click on that, and let's go to add an activity. So I can add an open-ended question. I showed you an example of that. I can add a poll. I can add a quiz. And I can add a draw it situation. So one of the things that you might want to consider with a draw it is basically it gives you digital ink. So if you had, let's say you were in an anatomy class and you had a diagram maybe of a body system or something like that, and you wanted them to circle or to point out or to color in some term or some concept, that would be where you would use that. Obviously, quizzes, you can create multiple choice, true and false, use that as formative assessment pieces. Polls, you just kind of, maybe take the temperature of the room, like I showed in my example, kind of gives you an idea of maybe, people's feelings on something. And then obviously an open-ended question is just kind of like an essay. You ask a question and they get a dialog box in order to respond. And again, the students can respond on a PC, on a Mac, on a tablet, and on a smartphone. The browsers would be used really on all the devices, but for the Android and the iOS devices, there are apps, free apps that you can download, which just quickly takes them to that screen where they enter the access code that you're presented. So let's create another one. And I'll just show you if I'm going to do a video. Right now, there's a free trial for YouTube. You have to pay for that. You can actually just download a video onto your computer and then browse my files will get it, or put something in Google Drive or wherever else you might have to have something stored. These are the types of files that they will accept. So if you have one in your machine, you can just drag it here and release it and it will work. So I'm not going to do that right at the time, but I wanted to show you that. Audio, kind of the same way. Slideshow will allow you to get from wherever you have something. I actually had a PowerPoint presentation in the previous test that I showed you that I just happened to have in my computer, and so I just did browse my file, was able to find it. You click on it, you say submit, and you're good to go. But let's add an activity. So again, these are my choices. I'm going to add a quiz. So I have my question. Oops. Actually, let's copy and paste this right here. This is the title of the quiz. Here, there's my question. And so I have answers. If I wanted to add an image, maybe I can add an image of the elephant. I could add an image right here, and I can get the images from Google, or I can get them from my own device. I can add my answers here. If I need more space, I just click on Add Answer. It gives me another space. And add answer again. And if there's a correct answer to the questions, I have to go ahead and identify it as the correct answer by clicking on the check mark. If I decide I don't need one of the answers, I can get rid of one of the answers and just have, in this case, have it out of 3. And then I can add more questions if I would like to have more questions on this particular quiz. Understand, I can add multiple quiz slides along the way. So if you just want to ask them one thing, pause right now, and then later on in the presentation, ask them some other things. You can do that. But for right now, I'm going to end it right here. And so we now have this quiz question. And let's add another slide. Let's add another activity. And let's add a poll. So how comfortable are you with the material? Mary. It's going along, and we'll add one more answer. Have no clue. And so students will be able to respond just by identifying that. Now, when you're all done, if I want to work on this later, I can just kind of leave it alone here. It auto saves as I go forward. What I would want to do here is I would want to give this presentation a name so I can go back and find it later. Otherwise, it's just going to be called Untitled. And so at this point, if I wanted to come back and work on this later, I actually could work on this later, so I don't have to do anything with it. But let's assume I'm done for purposes of our discussion. I'm going to come down here and hit Publish. I can give it a descriptor and a tag if I want. I can identify the grade that it's for and the subject. And again, this is private. It's not going anywhere unless I decide. I can go up here in this more area that you can kind of see shaded out here, and I can actually make it available for other people if they want to see my version. If you remember before, we have that explore area where you can go and see what other people have done. So I now have this presentation. I can turn it into a live session again, and as you see, if I do that, we have the pin, we have this access code for the students. They would enter it in their device, and they are now playing along. So hopefully this was valuable to you, learning another way to create an interactive activity in the class that gives you the ability to present. You can do some formative assessment along the way and make it very learner-centered, because you can actually have students get involved in either that drawing tool, or as you saw when we put the PowerPoint in there or a slide presentation in there, they're actually the ones that are advancing the presentation back and forth. So it makes it a very learner-centered experience. Thank you.